Hello, and welcome to Region Locked Lite. The homebrew community is one which garners a lot of attention, particularly with constant demonstrations of how old hardware can still be utilized to create impressive digital art. A collaboration in Japan created titles which used the Famicom, not just for gameplay, but also as a means of digital art. These games aren't officially licensed by Nintendo, as they were released well beyond the Famicom's life cycle. The collaboration's first release in 2016, which was little more than a cartridge form of their chiptune album, was 8-Bit Music Power. 8-Bit Music Power is, in effect, a chiptune album that uses the Famicom console to generate the music. While the cartridge features a number of minigames, these are not the game's main draw. The game was made in a collaboration between Columbus Circle, a hardware manufacturer in Japan, and artist Riki Iwasaki. The musical pieces featured on the cartridge were created by a number of talents in Japan, with 11 tracks in total. Artists who worked on the project include Professor Sakamoto, Yuriko Kaino, and Tappy. Visualizations are included on the cartridge, with artwork that serves as a sort of screensaver whilst the album is left to play. The game saw wide success, reaching number 3 in the Japanese Amazon sales charts for pre-ordered games. The team revisited the game in 2017 in order to release a finalized version, called 8-Bit Music Power Final. This release increased the number of tracks on the cartridge from 11 to 18, while also refining several other elements. While it's hard to some to dub these releases as video games, both Riki and Columbus Circle created an interactive experience on the Famicom after their first album release was a success. Kira Kira Star Knight DX took the team's concept further, being both musically and visually impressive, but also featuring interactive gameplay elements. The game works like most standard Infinite runners, with the player controlling a young girl with a side-scrolling view. The goal is to collect stars which enter the screen in a variety of different patterns. The player runs continuously and is able to jump in order to collect the stars. Patterns grow more and more complex as the game goes on. To be victorious in each stage, the goal is to obtain a certain number of stars before time runs out. The game's physics work like several classic games on the system, preventing the player from changing their jumping trajectory whilst in the air. This is the extent of gameplay for the title, making it pretty unsurprising to hear that the game's main focus was not on the creation of complex gameplay, but instead a demonstration of the artist's works graphically and audibly. The reason for the lack of release in the West with these titles likely stems from their actual purpose. Being more like art pieces rather than games, the market for an artist will be with those who already appreciate their creations. Riki, the lead behind these games, as well as one of the musical composers and artists, is a recognized artist in the region, having worked on an extensive number of projects ranging from mobile phone games, music, and adult publications. Without a guaranteed market overseas, creating cartridges for what is essentially an art project would have likely been without much payoff. Versions of the cartridges would need to be created for each region that they are released in, increasing the costs of such a niche concept. Columbus Circle, who publish the titles, create hardware which is exclusively sold in Japan. Their market is entirely within the region, and it's unlikely that they felt the niche releases would be worth their time to explore expanding their distribution to overseas. That's all for today, but we hope you enjoyed this brief exploration of a more recent demonstration of Region Locked classics. If you'd like to see more Region Locked, check out the links on screen, and if you haven't already, perhaps consider subscribing to see all the latest episodes as they go live.